You walk into a room, and within 10 seconds somebody already knows. Is not because you said anything. Is not because you did anything wrong. They know because of how you stand, how fast you laugh, how quickly you fill a silence that did not need filling. You have felt this before. You have walked away from a conversation replaying every word, wondering what you exposed without meaning to. The hardest part is this. You cannot point to the exact moment it happened. There was no single moment. It was the whole performance. There is someone who understood this more deeply than anyone. His name was Schopenhauer. Arthur Schopenhauer was a 19th century German philosopher who built his entire worldview around one idea. Underneath every human action is a blind, restless force he called the will, and that will does not care about your comfort. It only cares about wanting more. He believed people are like porcupines on a cold night. We move close to each other for warmth, but the closer we get, the more we prick each other with our own quills. So we drift, forever caught between needing closeness and fearing the pain of it. That drifting has a signature. People can feel it on you before you say a word. In this video, we will look at 7 signs that give away your insecurity before you open your mouth. Stay until the end. Number 7 is the one most people never talk about. You walk in 5 minutes late, and the first words out of your mouth are sorry, 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 before anyone has even looked up. Nobody asked for an apology. You handed it over anyway. This is not politeness. This is a nervous system bracing for a judgment that has not happened yet. You are trying to disarm a punishment you imagine is coming before it arrives. The apology is not really for the lateness. It is for existing in the room without having earned your place yet in your own mind. People can feel that bracing. It reads as guilt, even when there is nothing to be guilty of. Schopenhauer would say you are not reacting to other people. You are reacting to the restless will inside you that never feels safe enough to simply arrive somewhere. It convinces you that you are always one step behind permission. The over-apology is not humility. It is a confession you did not mean to make. You make a joke, and before the laughter even lands, your eyes are already scanning the room. You are not enjoying the moment. You are auditing it. This is the habit of checking your own worth in real time through other people's faces. You cannot simply say something and let it exist. It needs a verdict. That need for instant feedback signals to others, often without them consciously noticing, that you do not trust your own read of a room. They feel watched back, and people who feel watched tend to pull away. Schopenhauer believed that most of what we call self-confidence is borrowed, is propped up by the opinions of others, and that borrowing always shows in the eyes first. You need the room's permission to know if you landed. That means the room already knows you are not standing on your own ground. Someone states an opinion with total certainty, and a minute later, you find yourself repeating it as if it had always been yours. You did not choose it. You absorbed it. This is identity by imitation. When you are unsure of your own ground, you borrow someone else's because standing on theirs feels safer than standing on nothing. Borrowed conviction has a different texture than the real thing. Is slightly too fast. Is slightly too certain, with none of the hesitation that honesty usually carries. People sense the seam, even when they cannot name it. Schopenhauer called most human opinion a kind of inherited costume, worn so often that people forget they ever had a body underneath it. He believed real thought is rare, and most people only perform having one. The fastest way to sound unsure is to sound too certain about something you only just heard. You say no to something small, and then you spend the next 2 minutes explaining why. The no was not allowed to stand on its own. This is fear wearing the costume of thoroughness. A clean boundary needs no defense. The moment you start building a case for your own decision, you reveal that some part of you does not believe you are entitled to make it. Other people read the extra words as a request for their approval. They sense you are still waiting to be told it is fine. Schopenhauer believed that most explanation is not communication, is negotiation with an internal judge who is never satisfied. He thought the truly free person says what is true, and then stops. Every extra sentence after no is a small surrender of the no itself. You talk fast. You talk first. You fill every pause before it has a chance to become a question someone else might ask. This looks like confidence, but it is closer to control. Silence is dangerous to a person who is not sure what will happen if no one is steering the room. So you steer it constantly, exhausting yourself to keep the conversation from drifting somewhere you cannot manage. People feel the effort underneath it, even when they admire the performance. Real ease has nothing to prove. Schopenhauer thought the loudest will in the room is often the most desperate one. True strength does not need to announce itself every few seconds. The person controlling every silence is usually the person most afraid of what that silence might say about them. Think about the interview you rehearsed until the answers no longer sounded like you, or the conversation you replayed in the shower, perfecting a version of yourself that could never actually exist in real time. You told yourself the rehearsal was preparation. It was something else. It was proof that some part of you did not trust the real you to handle the moment without a script. People who meet the rehearsed version, even when it goes well, sense something slightly hollow in it. They are standing in front of a performance, not a person they have actually met. Confidence does not need a script. It needs a person willing to be seen improvising. Schopenhauer believed the will hides behind masks of its own making, and the more polished the mask, the more it betrays the fear underneath it. If you have to rehearse being yourself, somewhere inside, you have already decided that yourself is not enough. Everyone assumes insecurity is loud. It is not always. Sometimes it is the person who goes quiet in a group, watching, calculating, waiting to see where it is safe to speak. This is the version nobody warns you about because it disguises itself as calm. Underneath the stillness is a constant, exhausting surveillance of the room. You are tracking who is annoyed, who is bored, who might turn on you if you say the wrong thing. That watching has a texture. People feel observed by it, even from across a table, and observed people grow guarded in return. The silence that was meant to protect you ends up isolating you instead. Schopenhauer believed that withdrawal often looks like wisdom, when really it is the will protecting itself from a wound it has not even received yet. He called this kind of caution a prison built by the very mind it was meant to defend. The quiet you use to stay safe is often the loudest thing in the room. So why does any of this happen? It is not because you are broken. It is not because you are weak. It happens because somewhere along the way, you learned that being fully yourself was not safe, not without managing it first. Maybe it was a room where mistakes were punished. Maybe it was a person whose approval always felt conditional. So you built small defenses. The apology, the checking, the explaining, the control, the rehearsal, the silence. Every one of them made sense at the time. The problem is the world you built them for is mostly gone, and the defenses never got the message. They are still running, protecting you from rooms that no longer exist. First, stop explaining decisions that do not require a defense. Second, let a joke land without checking the room for its verdict. Third, speak slower than your fear wants you to. Fourth, choose the silence you actually mean, instead of the one you are hiding inside. Fifth, remember that the will inside you always wants more reassurance than you actually need, and is not your job to feed it forever. Think again about that room. The 10 seconds before you said a word, where somehow you had already been read. You used to think the answer was to manage that moment better, to control your face, your timing, your voice. But here is the truth. The people who sense your insecurity are not your enemies. They are simply standing close enough to feel the same restless will that lives in them too. You were never as exposed as you feared. You were only finally being seen as human, and that was never the danger you thought it was. If this video helped you see yourself a little more clearly, subscribe for more.